Good morning everybody, I'm Steve and welcome to Green Side Up. This is my 50th video. I started this channel on January 19th and in those 3 months I am now making the 50th video, which is marvellous. I never actually thought I would get this far. I wasn't sure if I would like it or if I'd take to it, and I have, and I've been really enjoying it, showing other people how I do things and discussing in the comments with folk how they do things and answering and asking questions. It's been a whole new revelation and a whole new side to my gardening, which I'm really enjoying. So here's number 50 and let's rock on to number 100 and beyond. And welcome to all the new subscribers to the channel. I've had quite an influx recently, and that's mostly down to Tony Smith. I'll put a link in the description. If you don't know Tony Smith, you ought to, and you ought to get over there and have a look at his content. He's a lovely chap, very affable, very amusing, and you know, you're just going to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes enjoying watching what he's up to next. He's a good gardener, nice and tidy. I don't think everyone will get something from that, so go over and have a look at his channel and subscribe and take part over there. You won't regret it. Right, back amongst the brassicas again. This was my seed bed, and it was to save space in the propagator. Rather than sow the seeds in the propagator early in the season and get them going there, I can do them here in the polytunnel. And you can sow brassicas in temperatures of right down to 6 or 7 degrees. And these were the first things I sowed, these radish here, and these were sown at 6-7 degrees. And these are scarlet clove, and I mean, look at those, they're wonderful things, they really are, and they'll grow twice as big as that without getting woody. But that's those, and I sowed all sorts of cabbage and cauliflowers and broccoli. Now the idea with this, what I've done in previous years, I've got them going here in the soil that they're going to grow in outside. So I've never worried too much about starting them off in compost. Now when I started this early this year, what I hadn't figured on is that I've never grown brassicas no dig, and I was intending to this year. So they were going to go directly into compost from this bed. Not so much of an issue, but what I have done is I've taken some of these out, the ones that I'm going to plant into the no dig, and I've potted them up into compost in pots, and then they'll grow on there really strongly. They're in the other tunnel, which I'll show you them in a minute, and will go straight out into the bed and be normalised. What I'm looking for is the temperature of the soil to be almost identical before I put them out, so they don't get a check. So that's those. I mean, I've got broccoli and cabbage, and then sort of spring cabbage, and then summer cabbages right over the back there. I've got chard and stuff, so that's all coming along nicely. So that's that little bit there. I've got some radish for salad. Right, so here we go, we're in the little tunnel now, and you can see some brassicas in front of you. These are broccoli, cauliflowers over here, and these are dog. They're actually greyhound cabbage. Dog is the joke from Muddy Boots. I'll actually put a link in the description for his channel as well. You should go and have a look at Nigel over at Muddy Boots. He's doing some wonderful stuff. Very organised gardener. Anyway, so that's dog. I just love that. I had to write that on there. So I mean, these are all coming on lovely, and these will all go out soon. I think even some of these are starting to flower, some of these, so this is wonderful. These will all be going out, I should think, in this next week. I have a few other plants here waiting to go out, a mix of flowers. I mean, I've got some statice here. These are celeriacs, these are doing wonderfully, they're nearly ready to go out. Some marigolds, more statice, some antirrhinums over there, the old snapdragons. So there's plenty going on in here. And a little bit further up I've got a few more seed trays full, just waiting for them to come on now. I've got things like onions and spring onions and leeks, turnips and radish. They'll all go out in the beds when they're ready, or they will replace crops that are already in the ground and growing. So they'll be just finding a space and popping them in. So just keeping the cycle going. Still in the little tunnel now. This is my hotbed. It's been built up. It's a good 2.5 foot up off the ground, and it's been dug 2 foot deep from ground level, and it's full of manure and straw and things, and then a layer of compost on the top. The idea is that the manure underneath heats up as it decomposes, heats the compost and gives you a warmer start to the season. Hasn't quite worked out, I'm not entirely sure why. I'm only getting temperatures in there of about 20 degrees when normal soil temperature at the minute is about 10. So it is getting slightly warm, but it's not coming as warm as I wanted. I didn't want the full 60-70 degrees, I wanted somewhere around the 40. So I might have compressed it too much when I put it in. I mean, if you just put stuff in loose, it will decompose and it will rapid burn very quickly. So I stomped it down a little bit to stomp the air out of it, to try and starve it and try and prolong it. That hasn't quite worked. So at the minute I'm using it for a bench for making protection frames for out in the narrow dig area, and in about a week's time when I've done the next frame, I'm going to strip off the layer of compost and aerate it and see if I can get the temperatures to come up a little bit. I've got some more manure I can chuck in to feed it, so we'll see where that goes from there. On the other side of the small tunnel from the hotbed, you can just see the hotbed on the right there. I've got this staging set up here. Now this bed was, until about 2 weeks ago, growing wallflowers, and I was taking them home for the vase. Brilliant cut flowers in early winter, early late winter. So these trestle tops just sort of drop down, and the hoops go over on canes, and there's a plastic cover there if a frost threatens, and then all these plants can go underneath it and be protected overnight. Haven't needed to use that part yet this year, so we've been quite lucky. So when it comes to proper growing in a month, maybe 2 months time, the hoops will all come out, those trestles will lift up and they'll be held up on the side of the polytunnel by bits of wire, and the bed underneath will house some crops. Most possibly this year it'll be tomatoes. I've got a variety called Ildi, so I'll probably be putting them in there with a mix with peppers and aubergines, but that's what this little tunnel will house this year, is tomatoes, peppers and aubergines. I sowed these seeds here a little over 2 weeks ago. It's a mix of flower seeds, and when I say a mix, it's a mix of perennials, biennials and annuals. And when I put them in, there's 14 varieties there. I fully expected about half of them to come through, because a lot of them were old seed. So I had a quick check about 10 minutes ago, and I've got 10 of the 14 coming through. So I'm quite pleased with that. Some flowers for this year, next year and beyond. Right, along the top of my hanging shelf here, I've got some pretty much knackered now lettuces and some sweet peas, ready to go out and find a wigwam to climb up. And here we have zebrun shallots. These are going out today, I'll be putting these out very shortly. These are the Chinese green onions, and these are some leeks here, multi-sown. Underneath the hanging shelf I've got my hot box here. I've had this for a couple of years now, and in here, protected against some of the frost we've had recently, whole host of dahlia plants, zinnias, and a lot of tomatoes, some spare celeriac and stuff. So that's in the first hot box. If I spin you over to the bigger hot box, and we'll just have a little peep in here. I've planted my crimson crush tomatoes, so I think there's 10 in each there, 10 in there, and then 10 in this one. So very soon I'll be taking these boxes off, because most of the threat of frost will have gone, and I'll be able to cover them with fleece. But these boxes were designed and built to be used with the no dig area, and they'll be going out in the first bed out there, and my sweet corn will be going in them. Let's have a walk out one. I'll show you. So this is where we are, and this top bed here is for that sweet corn. As the corn grows up and reaches the roof, I'll take the lids off, but I'll leave the protection around them. One thing I found out is that sweet corn do like that protection in the early stage of their growth, and your plants will be twice the size if you do it. Guarantee it every time. Right, I'm going to crack on and get me shallots in the ground today. So these are Zebrun. I first found out about these through allotment diary, Dan over there. Again, I'll put a link to his channel in the description, because he's certainly worth a look at. So I've just dibbed some holes in this top of this no dig beds compost and just drop them in. Job done, easy planted. Now you'll see this mesh here. This is the cheats way to get nice straight lines, and it's wonderful, and it means you can get in and hoe in between the plants or weed or whatever you want to do, and it just keeps things nice and organised. There we go. So just push them out and push them in the ground. Doesn't get any simpler than that, does it? Right, so there we go. We've got close to 80 Zebrun shallots in the ground now, and right at the far end there's a couple of rows of these Chinese green onions that I'm wanting to try. So I'll give them a quick water and hopefully they'll do well. I found over the years that the next 2 weeks are the most important. If I can get them through that, then they'll be fine and they'll grow on. But I have had a couple of years where they've just sort of died off, and I have no reason why that would happen. They just did. But hopefully this year they'll be better than that. They're good strong plants, so we'll see how they do. We're out here in the back of the plot now, and these two beds, one either side of me, are my flower beds for this year. I've cleared this one, rotavated it, and I'm just in the process of doing this one here. Now there's a lot of weed in there, you can see that, but this rotavator is a bit different. There are two different types of rotavator. There's your normal rotavator and a cultivator. The difference being, cultivators tend to be lighter and they'll spin at a much higher speed. They are the ones that chop weeds up. Rotavators don't. I'll run this for you in a minute and I'll show you the speed of it, but without the volume, because it'll deafen you. Just so you can see what it does. It actually gathers the weeds up for me as it's digging through the soil. So in that respect, it's good. It's not perfect, but it's good. I'll have to dig docks and dandelions out, but other than that, I'll just rotavate it, and the finger tines on my rotavator will just pull all the weeds up, collect them for me. So that's it for today, my 50th video done and done. Thanks again to all the new subscribers, and if you're not a subscriber, please do consider subscribing and join us here and get involved in the comments, and if you've got anything to say, please do say it and ask the questions, and we'll see where we end up. So from here on in, we're up to video number 51 next, and on to 100. Champion. See you all again. Stay safe everyone. Take care. Bye bye.